Welcome to the A. Marie Speaks podcast, where I am talking about all things introspection, spirituality, and happiness. Thanks so much for joining me for episode number 44. Today is the 28th of March, 2024, and I am going to be doing an audio version of a blog I wrote a while ago. Titled Strange Differences, and I'm going to read through this and sort of segue into and also talk about the current state of the world and this current phase that we're in, the falling of the veil, right, in this apocalyptic time, the sort of dawning of the new earth, the age of Aquarius that we are stepping into now. And so I think it's a great way to approach the shifts and changes that we are experiencing and going to continue to experience for a while by looking at, first and foremost, the starting ground and where we're at, and pointing out the fact that there is quite a few differences among the humans here on Earth. And so this is what my podcast today will be about. Thank you again for joining me here. Before I start reading directly from the blog, I just want to reiterate that I think our differences are uniquely important and that they deserve the right to be as they are and to add their own distinct imprint into the whole. But I do feel that the whole should always be working towards full acceptance of everything involved. We shouldn't be creating versions of the quote-unquote whole which don't actually represent the full spectrum of the whole. I just find that is incorrect in its representation and therefore, biased and in fact a lie, right? When we look at it kind of black and white. Which is my intention here as I go through the blog and to talk about where we're headed, is to talk about the search of truth, right? The ascension of humanity that we're all a part of, and our own individual role in that, which is seeking out what feels true and correct to each of us in our own personal perspective. It is my real belief that the truth, vibration, these things which we feel within us that are unexplainable and unspeakable really, are and is the language of the universe, of God, of infinite intelligence, of our higher self, many different things. But that it is a truer, more honest language than, speaking is. But to more on that later. I want to pull up my blog here and just dive into this. It's been a while actually since I've read this. I was reminded of it in a video that I was watching, Light versus Dark. I shared that on my Telegram. I made that video about a year ago, and in this sort of commitment to myself of circling back to foundational points and looking back at previous ideas of and stages of my ideas. I had discovered this video and I shared it because I felt it was very relevant to actually present right now within the energy system series I'm working on, and also just within the world in general. And I had mentioned this blog because the blog had sort of sparked that video, or the concepts of the video. And I thought, oh wow, I'm going to come back to this blog and see what we can hear this time around. So yeah, here is the blog, Strange Differences, with a question mark. This is more of a personal pondering type of blog than an educational article, that maybe I usually write. I cannot help but notice that humanity has distorted life into bogus hierarchy systems. The setup is not conducive to positive growth or happiness. Why would people do this? And yeah, this is a pondering that I get wrapped up into a lot, and I wonder, why do we choose this? Why do we choose negativity? Why do we choose to lie and circle around in these liar loops? And also this authority, the hierarchy of systems that I mean here, right? Top-down authority, need to know. The pillared visual of feeling and assuming that people who know more than you, or who are more accredited than you, or have X, Y, and Z degree or certificate or clearance level, therefore hold a power of authority over you that has and is tied into your worth as a being, your worth within the entire system, your worth within the whole that I spoke about at the start, right? It's important to remember that within these false inversions, we are distorting and segregating out the whole to a personal or a specific beneficial purpose, right? And so it is false. It's a lie. And when we step back and we remember, oh wait, the whole is actually including all, and it isn't turning everything upside down on its head. It's actually just accepting things as they are and allowing. Perhaps we wouldn't be tricked into serving these false systems and these negatively aligned systems that are siphoning and draining us of our own light and love. And in such trickery and in such a malalignment that we are confused when we receive a negative response and we don't receive service retribution from a negative system. We're disillusioned by the service that we receive back, which is more taking, or that is required of us, which is just more taking, right? We don't actually receive much back in the form of the exchange, right? But anyways, I don't want to get too wrapped up in systems, and I'm off on a side alley here. Let's bring it back to my actual blog. Ever since I was small, I could see the sham for what it was. A facade, a circus, a magic show. Nothing about it made logical sense to me. None of it does, still to this day. There has been a mechanism of control maintaining the imbalance of power because it just does not make sense to the individual user. I won't get off on a tangent. Let's stay with the blog here. For the life of me, I still can't seem to come to terms with the overarching theme of servitude hanging over this place like a mismatched, washed out rainbow. These flimsy and false concepts of royalty, elites, upper class, or political class, the caste, kings, the prime ministers, whatever, all of these things are ridiculous to me. They have no weight, no substance, or roots in their claim to superiority. I feel no truth there whatsoever. And I think if you ask yourself truthfully and honestly, if you feel like some elected official or some royal blood born into a family has the right to step into your life and tell you what's best for you, could see into your mind or your heart and say what decisions are correct and right for you, The concept or term superiority is not to be confused with the ideas of seniority or mastery. These terms account for different levels of conscious awareness due to natural talents, gifts, affinities, or dedicated practice and commitment of time, attention, and intention. Right? Superiority is given at a superficial level. You don't do anything to receive this authority of superiority of the classes, of the hierarchies, the elites, the royals, right? It's not something that is based on dedicated practice, on a natural affinity or talent, something that you have within you already, uniquely. Right? It's something that if you've got it, it's because you're born into it. It was there before you, and others have told you you've got it, right? There's this sort of outside external agreement of confirmation of bestowing that version of worth that comes along with their false superiority version. Expertise, right, on the other hand, is gained through seniority, through mastery, and it sets us apart from others in a unique way that serves the collective whole. A masterpiece composition is never just a single note. It is many notes, sometimes many instruments even. Each of us have our own note to play. None can be superior keys to another. They are just that, keys, tones, notes, a frequency. We all have our own unique sound to play. Diversity is the ultimate purpose of creation, making something new. It is necessary, organic, and natural. It reflects the workings of the golden ratio, phi, and Fibonacci's spiral. Things are a bit off, not 100% predictable. A toss of the dice, right? A gamble, a chance. The creator is a jokester, remember. This is all one big exploration of manyness, and how much could be created within the ultimate ending remaining a mystery right up until the curtain falls. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Worth is not defined by or altered even by potential talents or accomplishments. Sovereign worth is bestowed just the same as every other creation at the time of conception, just by being brought into being. Each and every human born has obtained the gift of sovereignty here in this place and space. There is no way to lose it. You may choose to taint, distort, extort, hide, or make a mockery of it. But that will never change the fact that within you resides a cord back to source, and within that cord flows unconditional love and sovereign worth. Now, back to this 3D matrix, quote-unquote, rule of superiority. This intention or ideology holds the presumption that some beings are worth more than others because of some justification, usually an extenuating circumstance of some kind that seems almost innocent, logical, or even naturally occurring. Right? Some argue these things. This is because the assumptions are direct inversions, aka a big fat bull-faced lie, with just enough truth to pull an undertow current through the center to fool people. Right? These are direct inversions. They are an exact upside down replication of the one truth in extension of this expanded truth of personal sovereignty. Also, I'd like to highlight that the thought energy of superiority is in itself negatively charged right from the gate. because it requires energy to be spent in order to be felt, witnessed, given. So remember that you are inherently collecting a negative polarity all the time while you consent to that idea and deny the one truth and your sovereign worth. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy of negativity. Why would anyone consciously choose that? Well, we all have chose that at one point or another, myself included. I'm just thinking out loud here, right? Asking rhetorical questions for all of us to think over for ourselves. Finally, and most importantly, if you are subservient and bow down to some superior authority, then know this lie will be applied over the entirety of your reality. It will bind you to this knowledge that there is an elite group of individuals who are themselves collectively separate and better than all the rest, including you yourself. And in that statement, you're consenting to slavery. You're creating energetic entanglements between yourself and the master, or the elites, or your boss, or whoever you're serving within this superiority hierarchy. I can't ignore that some people do generally buy into and believe that a faction or percentage of humanity is better than the rest. And even in the eyes of the Creator, they say this. Just because of some genetic station, some belief of some kind, or even financial standing. But I just cannot get on board with that. It's self-harming and it's negatively focused. And in fact, this false construction of reality sets into motion a conception which is negatively charged from the start, like I said earlier. Just like I mentioned above, you create for yourself a base level foundation which is tainted, weakened, and faulty. This ensures all future exchanges will be conducted from a place of energetic debt. You can never access your own sovereign energy bank when you continue to choose servitude to another. You're essentially a slave when you operate from this station, and you're consenting to that role by acting within its parameters. You know, this is really the key to releasing yourself and to becoming truly free. I have always felt a simple truth inside of me. Each person, soul, human being, here on the planet, alive and resonating their unique frequency in this time, space, and place, deserves to be here. Just as much right to their own life as I have to mine. I would like to be left to my own devices, honored and trusted to be a good person who stands by their word and lives out their God-given purpose in this life. And so I treat others with this same courtesy, and I hold these as a general assumption in respect to all others out there. This is what real sovereignty is, right? This is the basic starting ground. Assumption creates a graceful space of golden sovereignty inside me. I use that vision to uphold and charge my energetic boundaries as well, to protect myself at all angles and layers. One day, I do believe that all, or at least most of humanity's collective, will hold these notions true within their realities, and the entire social memory complex of the human race will be birthing into its golden age. Until then, we have a giant chasms with sharp edges and steep cliffs to navigate through, right? It's not hard to look around at the world right now and to see great divides that are tearing apart our planet. The race, our countries, the states, the cities within them, even family units, close friends and colleagues have witnessed a split happening within their own direct worlds. I feel the approach to failure has been quite obvious and clumsy. However, some of the collectives still, miraculously somehow, are being surprised by or even ignorant to the collapse we are facing. But anyways, I digress again. Because for this post, I really wanted to zoom in and examine this strange old habit or belief where one segregated portion of humanity tries to reserve some kind of altered or special place among the rest of the humans. This happens all the time. We have hundreds of depictions throughout history, and even in the present day, we still have a multitude of living examples. A basic form of this hierarchy nonsense I mentioned at the start seems to be built into not only the 3D matrix mainframe, but also right into our own human codes too. I see it as a chain of bondage meant to be broken. We can easily recognize it within the 3D matrix today in such severe examples as these appointed authority figures who are basically just a strong arm of the system. This can be seen as judges and those who think they can deem what's right for another human being. Over-empowered, big-headed doctors who think they know better than the individual when it comes to personal health and wellness. Agency workers who steal children from parents who simply need support. And of course, the gatekeepers of indoctrination, the teachers, and the system-run schools. I like to call them public prison camps, but hey. Another great example of this basic belief structure is the concept of need to know. I mentioned this at the very start. Or levels of security clearances. This is generally used in the alphabet agencies and in the corporate worlds. It's the basic idea that only top-level branches or sections have oversight of the entire process, and all other pieces involved are restricted to limited scopes of knowledge that inhibit information exchange between lower levels for security or protection of some kind, of course, right? This false framing of superiority is a blatant inversion of the one truth, which is why it gains so much traction out there with people, right? Instead of hearing the underlying true line of reasoning, which is your higher self, your connection with source and the universe is the only hierarchy you're tied to, instead we grab onto this need for external confirmation and we look for other humans to fulfill those places and spaces of validation. At every intersection in these matrix systems, they hope to train us. They desire to install in each of us the desperate need to obtain confirmation from the higher up. The requirement of approval from your parents, your religious leader, or the figurehead of whatever system you're a part of instigates that negative cycle of the servant and the master. Humans can barely seem to live without it, let alone recognize the harm it's actually causing and get away from it. So I'm not quite sure what I hope to accomplish by writing about this. However, it's irking me lately, so here we go. These ideas of boundaries, cultures, traditions, segments of land, and people living their own best way in symbiosis and organically with their natural surroundings is a sacred and beautiful honor we humans were given. We were supposed to be stewards of this beautiful planet. Ancient ways, spirituality, esoteric knowledge, and those types of traditional wisdoms are priceless treasures we should have been preserving, and at the very least, saving for reference, if not embodying and living in accordance to the guidance or advice from that time. But sadly, superior ones have hoarded, destroyed, and even held hostage the ancient human wisdom from all the original peoples. Why would we do this? This is another abominable habit or cycle humanity seems stuck in that is just so clearly negative and destructive that I've wondered all my life why the hell no one else calls it for what it is. Why have so many just gone along? Why do so many continue to just step right in line with mockery and lies? We've destroyed, burned, ruined, trashed, disintegrated, cast out, exiled information of other people's, and it had value. It did have value, and yeah, we just saw it as worthless. Anyways, now I've a bit got off on the rant again, but let's get back to my block here. The whys may never get answered fully, but I happen to see a clear causation regardless. And so I will say it again. If we each claim and embody our own sovereign worth and operate our lives from this common starting ground, then we would never be tricked into servitude by some other. And we'd see all these false structures in our world crumble quickly. For some reason, I'm super ahead of the curve in this line of thinking. So many out there are still seeking out confirmation from some group, thinking that it's better or not better than another. One of the most irritating symptoms of this dedication to the slave cycle is the habit of encouraging the mindset that the enslaved one is an innocent victim of some external, overpowering source. This is such a common, easy way out for many, but it is also such a blatant false exit, right into a liar loop where you will be forever circling, waiting for some outside savior to come to your rescue. Convenient for the negative system, since you are still serving up your energy to the servitude cycle while you're trapped. Conversely and simultaneously, the slave also binds their self to the master in a more comfortable and convenient way, creating a perfect scapegoat for all their hardships and shortcomings. The victim now has an easily definable, yet all-powerful obstacle in their way. And what better than that to hide behind, while you divert from seeing the truth hiding in plain sight? You are consenting to your slavery. When the slave believes that they are a victim of circumstance beyond their control, they are also more likely to relinquish their desires for freedom and to settle for what comfort they can find in their present moment. If you take this reasoning even further, and then allow the added influence of some rational justification of servitude, like royalty, God, or superior intelligence, well, then the slave will most likely distort their own truth for themselves and become an unconscious adherent to the cycle, because they will tie their energetic beliefs to this notion that they are less than, not as worthy as, or as special as the master, the king, elite, whatever their case. This is the most dangerous space for the slave, and it is why so many have coined the term mind control. Outside forces changing your neurology and thought processes to hold a perception that is negatively conductive within your being, and holding on to that forced thought, idea, or action because you've been conditioned, instructed, forced to by that master. Recognizing and breaking out of these scenarios is the stuff that the dark night of the soul is made of. Once someone is ready to cast off all mind control and claim responsibility for their conscious awareness in every present moment, we remember the one truth that guides us to our own truth, sovereign worth, and righteous purpose. That's the only way to recognize and decide for yourself to set yourself free, that you are worth that gift of a free life. But yes, not to get too much off on a tangent. But in this way, we can see how beneficial and necessary the slave cycle is for duality and humanity's ascension here on Earth. The chains can only be broken slave by slave, as they are uniquely fashioned, right? Furthermore, change can only start to reflect back out to the collective after a majority of people create and uphold this new sovereign communion space where all beings are valued as equal parts of the whole. I want to end here by touching on the thorn in my side as I write this. What about those out there who do fully believe and will probably continue to hold on to that belief that they are better than other humans because of some ordained reason, like being God's chosen people? Don't these types pose a threat to those who want to clear the ground and start fresh? Yes, they do. They always have, I might add. But this is a mechanism of duality, and we can never be free from it in this space-time. It's encoded into the organic matrix, and therefore it has beneficial evolutionary processes and purposes. There are huge benefits to be gained when dealing with catalysts created around quote-unquote chosen ones for all those involved. It can be no other way. However, those who believe they are better or different than the rest can only offend or harm those others if the others allowing consent to the infringing belief cycle of their superiority. If they don't agree to play the chosen one's game and imagine some kind of extra special worth that they've created for themselves, then it becomes meaningless to the whole group, right? Let them believe whatever they want inside their own heads. Their dark night of the soul will come. They will realize their truth. They will be called to balance. But it is not our place, my place, or yours to set that in motion or even to witness or observe that balancing act. Do you want to be observed judgmentally with a biased eye during your balancing? I know I certainly would not like to be. With that all said, it's also important to mention that the balance that has been unnaturally offset over time and now holds an overall negative frequency instead of a moderately neutral feeling. This has enabled an effect of fertilization within the organic matrix. It has promoted the negative artificial agenda to gain momentum. The darker aspects have been left to build and flourish in their expansive exploration of the manyness within the imposed overlay of the inorganic 3D matrix. It's turned into a not-so-fun house of circus mirrors and smoke shows. Humanity has been looped in and tricked in so many ways. It's of no consequence to Source, to the evolution of Earth and humanity as a whole, whether or not a few cells in the whole choose degradation, destitution, or enslavement. The sun will rise regardless, and no false light will be able to outshine the true logos. There can be no other way, if there is a singular source, that is. And some do deny or question that, and so I feel it important to mention that as well. It is possible there is no great before, no source at all. And in that case, we have an even stronger case laid down for enjoying your wild ride of life in the here and now, don't we? If there is no after, no judgment, no sacred purpose at all, then why go to your job for 30 years? Why follow a single law made by man? Why conform to society and waste your lottery ticket of this life's single chance? It makes even less sense to imagine a life of servitude if you hold that perspective, I would think. Regardless, now is the time to call back balance to Earth and humanity. It's time for the meek to rise and stand for their morals. Their boundaries will be pressed upon and tested to their fullest. Now is the opportunity to stand up and refuse to serve their false systems, point out their lies, and question their reasoning. This is their last chance to prove they are special or above others. Their dark night of the soul will come as their empire falls. Those of us who can see and feel the one truth should really focus our energies on offering our services to those who can accept the assistance and wish to resonate with their own light. And let be those who wish to reside in the shadows with delusions, lies, and negativity. that is the end of the blog that I wrote. I ended with a poem that I wrote years ago, and I think I'll read it, and then just quickly discuss where I would like to lead this into, which is that quest for truth that I talked about at the start. This poem I have titled The Gift, and I'll just read it. The universe knows no difference between you and I. Life sparks us all into this TikTok world. Wind-up dolls click-clanking around. Unknowingly, we carry this most precious gift inside. The energy of consciousness glows bright right out of each cell. Please do not tell me you truly believe the Creator of worlds bestowed motion with empty promises, hoping each life might prove itself worthy of a gift they've already received. And that is the poem. And how often I have found myself discarding, ignoring, belittling, excusing away, or making some kind of justification why I don't have time or capacity or don't deserve to fully enjoy my life, my present moments, my day, my journey here. And to me, it really all circles back to a willingness to seek truth, a willingness to each day honor that resonance within me, that unique, alive, conscious reverberance, I guess, that is continuously pulsating through me. And that includes the pulsating of my heart, the firing of my nerves and neurons, the electric sensations and impulses through the body. It includes the hormones. It includes the sensations that are more physically felt. It includes, the spiritual layers. All of these, there's just so many layers of conversation taking place within the universe of myself that present opportunities to listen for truth and to seek it out and to move closer towards it. That is the true work. That is the purpose, I feel, is what we should all be doing. And what I think is this new earth, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and the falling of the veil in itself, right? The collapse of the cabal and the fall of the empire is all symptomatic and of the same main current. And that current is the direction in which God is walking, in the direction in which the whole of the universe is moving and flowing, that grand procession. And I choose to know and believe that that direction is guided by a higher intelligence, and it is for a benevolent purpose, and it is moving in a directionality of positivity towards more truth, more clarity, more honorability and respect for even the smallest portions of the pieces of the processes which define the tiny definitive pieces, those tiny mosaic tiles that make up the big picture, right? And I think just to tie into what I was talking about in the blog here, and in the world, what's happening or not happening, depending on what you read in the signs, if you listen to prophecy, if you understand history and cycles and repetition or not. But the world in itself has great choices. that's what our density is about, and that's what the power of choice is all about. And so I think I'll just wrap it up here by reiterating and underlining that I do think the main category of choices available for us will have a lot to do with truth and choosing that which resonates with the truth within you versus lies, and undermining your own beliefs or feelings to go along with lies of others. I think, we had a big preview or a great kickoff with this, with 2020, and whether or not you chose to stand as a sovereign, organic human being with a right to live an untainted and fringed life, or whether you chose at that time to incorporate within you fear and worry and lies, and to doubt the beautiful gifts and worth within you, and to think that you need to look outside of yourself for something that might be better than that which was already given by God or by the universe, organic design, whatever you like to look at that as. But yeah, I think we've had our initial test with that, but I do think, it continues on, and it's in layers and flavors that are unique to each of us day in and day out, as to whether we'll stand in what feels like full truth and move towards that and try to stay in spaces of clarity, honesty, goodness, loyalty, to the things that we feel good about, believe in, and love, or whether we choose to divert our energy, our truth and attention for whatever reason or calling, and to bend our light, tell lies, bend a knee, turn a blind eye, a little white lies, whatever they are. These are our chances to either confront our shadow and say, wait, why am I going to take the easy way around? Why skirt around the truth to tell a fluffy, feel-good lie for a moment? Why don't I just take a second to try to speak my truth in a kind, nice way, instead of fluff up a lie to make it more believable? Why not just make the true belief actually nice to hear? Right? Those are the kinds of choices that we can have conversations about in our own lives, in each of our present moments here today, in this reality, as we move through, our journey here. If you're seeking a positive growth, of course, feel free to seek stagnation, and to cover your blinds, and to worry about shadows, and to scare yourself in a dark corner. But just know someday you will get tired of it. The sun will be peeking through the curtain, ever reminding you that there's an outside summer breeze and a beautiful day for you to get outside and enjoy when you want to. So thank you for listening. I hope I have given some inspiration. I know I have sort of remotivated myself, re-empowered my own sovereign light, which was what my original intentions were for bringing in this blog here today in my podcast. So thank you again for your audience, and thank you for your beautiful contribution to our collective, and thank you for witnessing mine. I hope you have a beautiful day or evening wherever in the world you are, and I hope you'll tune in to me next time here on Spotify. In the meantime, you can always find me directly on amariespeaks.com or over on Telegram or YouTube under the same name, A. Marie Speaks. I will leave it there for now, and I thank you again for listening. I'll catch you next time.